Hey guys, this is Tanya Kite. Welcome to my Getting Prep for Go Math presentation. I hope that you're able to find some really good ideas to incorporate into your classroom this year for Go Math. Just remember that you are awesome and you got this. The first thing you need to do is decide on the timeline for the year. Will you teach your chapters in order, or do you need to rearrange them? How many weeks will you need for each chapter or module? After you decide on the dates, edit the timeline in Dropbox to reflect your timeline for the year. That way you know where you're headed. Once you decide on your timeline for the year, now you need to break it up by module chapter. How many days are you going to need for each lesson? You're going to need to decide, will you use the Go Math task? Are you going to include review days? After you decide on these factors, you're going to go into the module file, and you're going to need to edit the timeline for that module in Dropbox. Don't forget to include your days off, and if you have early release, because that will also affect when you want to schedule your lesson. So I want to show you how to access Dropbox. When you're on the Go Math Facebook page, scroll down and you will see pinned post. That means that this post will always be the first thing that shows up if you're on the computer. If you're on your phone, you will have to look for that thumbtack icon so that you will find where it says pinned post. Once you click on the Dropbox logo, it's going to take you to the Dropbox page for math. Once you are there, you're going to want to bookmark this page so that you'll be able to access it when you're not on Facebook. So when you click on the lesson plan file, there are several files for you to access. I've got the timelines. All of the chapters are within the modules. At the bottom, I also have things for you to print out for making journal posters, links to helpful homework sites on Teacher Pay Teacher. And then there are some things from me to you that you're welcome to have. Binders, spines, and covers, labels for your coin drawer, labels for your math boxes, labels for your shoe box, the scrap box, signs that you may like to have in your classroom, and then a 120 chart that you can turn into a poster. At the bottom of the list, you'll see an FSA tracking form. This will allow you to track all of the test questions and help you to build your small groups. Then at the bottom is a list of some favorite resources that I use. So I'm going to show you what's in one of the chapter folders. In the math board, it's a link to the I Can statement posters. And then in the vocabulary, I have vocabulary cards that you're welcome to use. I print them out as 4x6 cards at walmart.com. So that way they're very vibrant and they do not lose their color as fast. Every chapter has a graphic organizer for you to use so that your students have something to work on when they're in whole group or in small group time. Then in every lesson, like this is 1.1, you'll see the lesson plan, the presentation, the FSA practice questions, and the journal prompt for every single lesson in Go Math. And in the assessment folder, you will typically find a link for Kahoot. I haven't made one for this because I just started Kahoot, I think about chapter 2 or 3. But this is on my to-do list for the summertime. But there'll be a link there for Kahoot. And then also you'll be able to access the center plan. And then to access the timeline, you can click Daily Schedule, and then the timeline for the year. And then for the module, it's at the very bottom. So you'll be able to edit your dates for when you're going to teach each chapter and each lesson in the chapter. Now that you have decided on when you're going to teach each lesson, we need to look at your daily schedule. How much time are you going to have for your math block? Once you determine that time, you'll be able to know how you're going to structure it. Are you going to be able to do centers based on your time? And if you are, how many groups or rotations will you have in your center time, and how long will your center time be? This is a sample of my math block. I use 5 to 10 minutes to engage the students with a song, a story, We use our graphic organizer, manipulatives, and we write. After that, we do 15 to 20 minutes with partner work. We're solving the hot questions. We're discussing it. Then we spend 40 minutes in small groups. I do 4 groups, rotating every 10 minutes. And then we do calendar time for 10 minutes. And then we do minute math and review. As I mentioned earlier, all of the 5E lessons are in the Dropbox. One 5E lesson for each lesson in Go Math. 5E means that you're going to engage your students. They're going to explore the concepts before you start explaining anything. And once you've done those 3 things, then you're able to elaborate on the information. And then at the very end, you can evaluate them to see if they get the information. These plans are there. If you need to edit them, please do so. And don't forget to change the standards to match your state standards. So for each 5E lesson, there is a matching PowerPoint to go with it. So it usually starts off with a song, if there is one that I find appropriate, and then it goes into the Engage section. And you can kind of look at these pictures to see exactly how it works. In order to keep me organized and have quick access to my FSA questions while I'm sitting at my table, I use these binders to store all my questions and my master copies in. If you would like to have the binder spines and covers, they're in the From Me to You file in Dropbox. To keep my binders organized, I use these Avery dividers, and I use 1 tab per lesson. And then behind the tab, I can store my FSA practice questions in plastic sleeves so I can reuse them later. And then I can also put my Tier 2 lessons. And then to store my vocabulary, I use the zipper pouches and put it in the front of the binder. So on the left, you can see another view of my binder. Like I said, the spine and the little 4x6 card is in Dropbox if you want to print it out. And then on the right-hand side is how I set up my teacher time station during math. I print all of my FSA questions on colored paper front to back, and then they go in the plastic sleeve. And usually as the song is playing, I get the manipulatives ready, and then I also get my station ready. So that way when the students get ready to rotate, it's already there. So here are what the center plans look like in Dropbox. They are sectioned by chapter and then by lesson number. So you can see here that each chapter has something for the independent station, technology station, manipulative station, and then what you're going to do at your teacher timetable. So you'll need to decide how many groups you want to have. Are you going to meet with them every single day? What do you want to do on those stations? Do you want to change them? Do you want to put in your ideas? Easy peasy. Just edit it if you need to. One thing that I do to help me out before school starts, which then helps me during the school year, is I rip out all of the math pages in the big book and in the homework book. Then I sort them out by lesson. And then I typically sort the first sheet so I can keep it separated from the second sheet, because usually I will have them do the independent page maybe the day after. So I want to keep them separated. To make it easier for me, I ask a high school student, and that way it helps me get things done, but also gives them community service hours. At the independent station, the students can use their graphic organizers and manipulatives if they need to. What I usually have them do is come to my teacher timetable. We practice that day's skill. And then when they go to the independent station, they're doing the second page of the lesson from yesterday. That way I'm confident when they go over there that they've got a better grasp on it before I just let them go on their own. Kids love games, so you have to have a math game station. I use the games from glue sticks and crayons. They match really well with our Go Math curriculum. She has about 7 games per chapter, so there's going to be some lessons that do not have a game, but it's okay because the students can review, and then you can hit on those other skills during your teacher time. For me, I have my students work with a partner, and then when they're working, they also have to record their responses. So once they're done recording, they can talk with each other to make sure that they've done it correctly, and then they can wipe it off and then go get the next game. Here's some more samples of my kids working on the glue sticks and crayons Go Math games. I do have a group in the far right picture. The students are working on math facts, which is also a standard. So that's why you see those guys huddled together. This is my teacher time station. This is where I have to pay attention to how the kids are solving the problem so that I can help them with any misconceptions or misunderstandings that they're having. The great thing about the pages being in the plastic sleeve is if they make a mistake, which is awesome, it's great that we can erase it and we can try again. And the kids know that it is okay to make a mistake. And you've got to let them feel that it's okay for that to happen, because then they're going to grow and learn. So here are some more examples of me working with my students on the practice pages I created in Dropbox. And they really love it because they can write on it and they can go on the back side, and they get really excited when I let them go on the back side without my help. To incorporate technology in the class, we use the Mega Math, which is part of the Go Math curriculum, and we also work on abc.com in the math section. On the tablets, we can access the Go Math app. Now, depending on what kind of tablet you have or how new it is, depends on which Go Math app you can download. And my students also use Seesaw to take pictures of their work. So when they are done with their partner work, or if they want to share something from independent time, they can take a picture of it and either type a message to me, or they can send an audio recording to me, and then also helps me to see where their thinking is and if they're getting it correct. This is one of my favorite spots in the room. It was one of the first things I really got into organizing in my classroom. So it has my heart. And what I did was I got 12 scrapbook boxes from Michael's, and it just happened to be, it was either spring or summer, and they had some funky colors. So this one so happened to match my room. So I got those. And then the shoe boxes also were in style for that season, so they're matching also. But those labels are in Dropbox if you want them. And that is where I store all of my centers and manipulatives. Here I have taken some of the games out of the box, spread them out so that you can see how much stuff fits in there. And I took a permanent marker and labeled each bag with a lesson number. I also keep my graphic organizers in the particular scrapbox chapter that it belongs to, so that way it's always easy for me to grab what I need, and then also my students know where to put things back at. I love these trays. I got them from Amazon.com. We can actually use them for math, reading, and science, so I love that part. But when the song is playing during the PowerPoint presentation for math, I'm able to set up their trays with a graphic organizer, manipulatives, and a marker, and then I'm able to pass them out quickly to their partners. One area that my school is big on is writing across the curriculum. So for every lesson, there is a journal prompt. You can print those out on sticker sheets, and then you can place the sticker in the student's journal. On the right-hand side, it's a little hard to tell, but there's a cross there, so that it makes 4 sections, and the student can put the journal prompt, write out their plan, how they're going to solve this problem, show me their work, and then justify their answer. At the beginning of the year, you're going to have to model it heavily until they really get the hang of it. One way that you can help them out is by letting them talk about it during your 5E lesson. Make sure they're using that vocabulary so that when they go to write about it, they will have a better understanding of what they're doing, and they will have a better understanding of how to write it. You can also post the prompt, read it out loud to them, and then let them partner discuss it before they start writing it down. On the right-hand side, I've taken the Go Math glossary, since I ripped all the pages out of the book, and I put the glossary in the back of their journal so they don't always have to ask me how to spell. We are required to have a focus wall. So for my math section, I post the I Can posters that I got from Jason's online store from Teacher Pay Teacher, followed by the vocabulary, which is in Dropbox. And then I post students' work with specific feedback. We also have to have a calendar posted. We use curiosity bait. So each month we pick a different math concept and review it during calendar time. I also have my posters for standards there, and then also vocabulary is posted also. Kahoot is a really engaging and fun way to review skills. In each assessment folder, I have a link to the Kahoot that you can practice, or you can look me up at Nayday98. Kahoot is free, and at the minimum, you just need 2 devices. So I use my teacher laptop and project it on the smartboard, and then we use 1 student computer. If you are a school that has multiple devices, you can play one-to-one, or if you have enough to make teams, you can do Team Kahoot. But if you're limited on devices, what my students use is a whiteboard, and then we also use Kahoot Cards. I found a link for it on Pinterest, and the person suggested to print out the cards and then fold them up, and the students can present that particular shape or color to represent their answer. What I did was I laminated them, and then I gave my students clothespins so they could pick it out. So either way, it still allows you to play the game with limited devices. Now, these are the chapter tasks, and we do them whole group sometimes, or sometimes we do them in small group. It just depends on how complex they are. The problem that I've noticed is that kids have to pick their own numbers to solve the problem, which is great. But then when they're sitting next to each other, sometimes the partners want to pick the same answer or the same numbers that they're doing. So sometimes I prefer to do it in small group so I can make sure everyone's picking a different number so I can ensure everyone understands the concept. For me in Florida, I can go into Think Central and print out the FSA test found online. You can see here the style of question is a little bit different than what you find in the workbook, which is why I prefer that my students are practicing the FSA questions at my table. But I do use the workbook test as a review during center time. This is my progress monitoring tool that I created to track my Go Math progress. I use it to keep track for my Tier 2 data and also to help me build my math groups. After the students are done testing, I can put their name and information in the columns, and then I look at their test, and if they missed a question, I can put an X in the box. It will populate yellow. On the right-hand side, I can put down their score that they received. After I've entered in all my class data, on the bottom, it will tally up how many kids missed a specific question, and then I can analyze, is that something I need to reteach whole group or small group? Was it something that I personally did not do a good job at teaching? Or is it the wording of the question that they don't get? Or do they just not get that specific concept at all? So I can use that data to reteach. If I reteach it and they get it right, I can clear out the X. If they miss that question again, I can put 2 X's and it will populate red. Then in the second score column, I can put down their new score, and I can either show growth or no growth, which will help back up my Tier 2 data. Once I analyze my test data, I will use that information to create my small groups. I can either pull Tier 2 resources from Go Math, or I can use my FSA questions to reteach. And this is just a sample here of some of the FSA questions I created for Chapter 1. So you can start prepping today. Go into Dropbox and start clicking and looking around so that you're familiar with all the resources that are there. You can go ahead and edit your standards to match your state. If you want to print out your plans, you can do it. I print mine out and leave the regular plans in my lesson plan so I don't have to print them out all the time. And then when I submit my plans online to my administration, I make sure that I list my accommodations there. Go ahead and print out your master copies. If you want FSA questions, go ahead and print those out. You can get them in sleeves. And you can make a list of things that you want to copy and go ahead and get those turned in if your administration does summer copying. Thank you for watching. I hope that you were able to find something useful that you can use next year to make it easier. If you have any questions, be sure to send me a message or you can post on the First Grade Go Math group. Have a great day, guys. Bye.